Virginia reaches an important milestone in the battle against coronavirus. Governor Ralph Northam announced today that 70% of the state's adults have received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. And he had other good news, too. Take a listen.
Our percent positivity has dropped dramatically to less than 1.5%. The vaccines did this. They and everyone who worked and continues to work to get them into arms.
The Commonwealth is the 16th state in the country to reach the milestone so far. Governor Northam also said he'll let the COVID-19 state of emergency expire at the end of the month.